This presentation will discuss the Title II Part A Meaningful Consultation Requirement. This requirement is part of the random validation process for the 2022-2023 school year. Before we begin, we would like to point out that documenting overall compliance for a program requirement may require several forms of documentation to be maintained locally and available upon request by TEA and/or an auditor. To ensure overall compliance with program requirements, LEAs should refer to the program guide and/or other program-related resources that reference the multiple forms of documentation required to be maintained locally. The documentation requested for submission during the random validation process may not include all forms of documentation that are required to be maintained locally. Title II Part A statute requires the LEA to meaningfully consult with teachers, principals, other school leaders, paraprofessionals, including organizations representing such individuals, specialized instructional support personnel, charter school leaders in an LEA that has charter schools, parents, community partners, and other organizations or partners with relevant and demonstrated expertise in programs and activities designed to meet the purpose of Title II Part A. The documentation required for Item 1.1 are the relevant pages of the District's Improvement Plan. These include title page of District Improvement Plan and only those pages of the plan that relate to the consultation. This might be narrative sections where the LEA has described its planning and consultation process or specific activities that are indicated in the plan. Please do not submit the entire plan. The term meaningful consultation refers to a genuine opportunity to participate and provide input into planning and decisions concerning the program. Issues that may result in an improvement needed status include the following. Auditable documentation requested was not submitted. Documentation submitted does not reference the consultation process, or documentation from a prior year was submitted instead of a current year documentation. The documentation required for Item 1.2 is documentation of stakeholder meetings. Acceptable documentation for this requirement will be the meeting agendas and meeting notes, which provide evidence of meaningful consultation with the required stakeholders in the development of the Title II Part A program. It should be clear from the agendas and minutes that the stakeholders have a genuine opportunity to participate in the planning and decision-making. It should not be a rubber stamp approval. Sign-in sheets should include the date, stakeholder names, roles, and signatures for the required stakeholders. Required stakeholders are defined by Title II statute as teachers, principals, other school leaders, paraprofessionals, special and instruction support personnel, charter school leaders if the LEA has charter schools, parents, community partners, and others with relevant and demonstrated expertise. Please note that parents who fill the parent role on the committee may not be LEA employees. Documentation for virtual meetings is acceptable. Given the increased use of virtual meeting environments, participant rosters that include the meeting title, date, and stakeholder names and roles will be acceptable substitutes for the more traditional sign-in sheets. This eliminates the need of a participant's signature. Issues that may result in an improvement needed status for Item 1.2 include the following. Auditable documentation requested was not submitted. Documentation submitted does not reference the name and date of the meeting. Documentation submitted does not demonstrate representation of the required stakeholder groups. Or documentation from a prior year was submitted instead of a current year documentation. The documentation required for Item 1.3 is the related meeting minutes corresponding to Item 1.2. Issues that may result in an improvement needed status for Item 1.3 include the following. Auditable documentation requested was not submitted. Documentation submitted does not reference the name and date of the meeting. Documentation submitted does not demonstrate representation of the required stakeholder groups. And documentation from a prior year was submitted instead of a current year documentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. If you have any questions, please reach out to gerardo.ramirez@tea.texas.gov. My desk phone number, 512-463-9390, or our division phone number, 512-463-9499, as well as our division email address, support@tea.texas.gov.